Welcome to TCG.
Welcome back to Tapcast Go. Today we'll be looking at Zacama, Primal Calamity. He's 9 converted mana cost. He is red, green, and white. That's a lot. That's really high for a converted mana for a commander. But once you take a look at the deck and once you see how it rolls, and once he's out onto the battlefield, he's pretty much a beast. So he is a 9/9 with Vigilance, Reach, and Trample. When Zacama enters the battlefield, if you casted it, you get to untap all your lands that you control. Then he has 3 abilities. He does 3 damage to target creature. He does destroy target artifact or enchantment, and you get to gain 3 life. So let's take a look. This first section here, we're going to take a look at the cards that help bring Zacama onto the battlefield a lot quicker. So we've got Atzocan Seer. He could tap and add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Then you can sacrifice him to return a target dinosaur card from your graveyard to your hand. Then we have Ultipec Huntmaster. Dinosaur spells you cast cost 1 colorless less to cast. Then you can tap them and target dinosaur gains haste until end of turn. Then we have Devour of the Mighty. He gets +2/+2 as long as you control a dinosaur. Then you can tap him to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Then we have Faeburrow Elder. It's a Vigilance. He gets a +1/+1 for each color among permanents you control, which is going to be 3 colors. For each color among permanents you control, add 1 mana of that color. So essentially he's going to tap for 3 colors, which is white, green, or red. Next we have Sword of the Animist. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Whenever equipped creature attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. The more lands we have out with Zacama, the better, because you get to untap your lands. Cultivate. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal those cards, and put 1 onto the battlefield and the tapped, and then the other into your hand, then shuffle your library. Then we have Animist Awakening. Reveal the top X cards of your library, put all land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. Then it has Spell Mastery. If there are 2 or more instant or sorcery cards in your graveyard, untap those lands. Then we have Commune with the Dinosaurs. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a dinosaur or a land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest of the bottom of your library in any order. Next we have Pillar of Origins. As Pillar of Origins enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells of the chosen type, which in this deck would be mostly dinosaurs. Then we have Farseek. Search your library for a plains, island, swamp, or a mountain card, and put it onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle your library. Then we have Kodama's Reach. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal those cards, and put 1 onto the battlefield tap and the other into your hand, then shuffle your library. Now, the next 4 dinosaurs are going to help you during your attack or blocking phase, but you can also trigger these abilities with your instant or sorceries. So we have Sun-Crowned Hunters. Whenever it is dealt damage, it deals 3 damage to target opponent. Then we have Raging Raptors. Whenever Raging Raptors is dealt damage, you may search your library for a basic land card, put onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Then we have Silverclad. Whenever Silverclad is dealt damage, each opponent sacrifices a permanent. And then we have Marauding Raptor. Creature spells you cast cost 1 colorless less to cast. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, the raptor deals 2 damage to it. If a dinosaur is dealt damage this way, the raptor gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Now let's take a look at some of the cards that are going to help trigger those abilities. We have Firebolt, which does 2 damage to any target. Magma Jet does 2 damage to any target. Scry 2. Shock deals 2 damage to any target. Rile deals 1 damage to target creature you control. That creature gains trample until end of turn, and you get to draw a card. Then we have Hungry Flames, deals 3 damage to target creature and 2 damage to target player. Then we have Fury Temper, which does 3 damage to any target as well. Now we chose these instant and sorceries because if these creatures aren't on the battlefield, we have other options if your opponents do not have creatures at that time. We can then trigger either a planeswalker or the player. Next, we're going to take a look at these heavy hitters. for the deck. So we have Gizhath, Sun's Avatar, which is Trample, Vigilance, and Haste. When he deals combat damage to a player, reveal that many cards from the top of your library, put any numbered dinosaur creature cards from among them onto the battlefield, and put the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. Then we have Gehalta Primal Hunger. It costs X less to cast, where X is the total power of creatures you control, and it has Trample. So potentially this can be a 12/12 for only 2 mana. Then we have Etali Primal Storm. Whenever it attacks, reveal the top card of each player's library. Then you may cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. This may be a 6 converted mana cost for a 6/6, but the ability is really good for this creature. Next, we have Zodalpa Primal Dawn. It has Flying, Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample, and Indestructible. Then we have Territorial Allosaurus for 4 converted mana. It has a kicker of 3 mana, which is 2 colors and 1 green. When it enters the battlefield, and if it was kicked, it fights another target creature. Then we have Wayward Swordtooth, which is a must. You may play an additional land on each of your turns, but Wayward Swordtooth can't attack or block unless you have the City's Blessing, which is connected to the Ascend ability. These next 4 cards may not be heavy hitters, but they're still beneficial in the deck. We have Kinjali Sunwing, which is creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Then we have Urabas the Hidden, which does the same exact thing, but it also gives your creatures haste. Then we have Thrashing Bontodon, which you can sacrifice them for 1 converted mana and destroy target artifact or enchantment. Then we have Priest of the Awakening Sun, which at the beginning of your upkeep, you may reveal a dinosaur card from your hand. If you do, you gain 2 life. Then you can sacrifice him to search your library for a dinosaur card and put it into your hand. You may have to pay the mana for that ability, but at least you can do it at instant speed and trigger it when you need it. Then we're going to play these 2 artifact equipments. We have Infiltration Lens, which I feel is underrated for 1 converted mana and 1 equipped cost. Whenever a creature becomes blocked by a creature, you may draw 2 cards. Then we have Embercleave, which has Flash. This card costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature you control. When Embercleave enters the battlefield, attach it to a creature that you control. An equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has Double Strike and Trample. Especially if this is connected to your, attached to your Zacama. If he then swings and does not block, that's going to be 18 commander damage straight to your opponent, which is going to be pretty hefty. Then you're going to play 3 enchantments. We're going to play Hunting Ground, which is an absolute must. It's 2 converted mana costs. If you have Threshold, whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may put a creature card from your hand and into play. Then we have Rhythm of the Wild. Creature spells you control cannot be countered. Non-token creatures you control have Riot, which they enter the battlefield with a choice of a 1/1 counter or haste. Then we're going to have Wilderness Reclamation. At the beginning of your end step, you get to untap all of your lands. These next 3 cards are definitely going to be beneficial towards the end of the game. So we have Shelter, which target creature you control gains protection of the color of your choice until end of turn. Then you get to draw a card. Then you have Mother of Ruins, which does the same thing, but it's a creature, and you get to tap it to trigger that ability. Those 2 cards are definitely going to help you later when you need to protect your commander or any other creatures that you need. Then we have Rishka's Expertise. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. You may cast a card with converted mana cost 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Then you're going to play a lot of different lands in this deck, but there's only 2 lands that are actually worth mentioning here. So we have Desert, which is add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, but you can also tap it to deal 1 damage to target attacking creature. Play this ability only during your end step of combat. This is good for those creatures that you have that's going to trigger those abilities when they do damage to that creature. Then we have Sanctum of Eternity. Also taps for colorless mana, but you can also pay 2 and tap it to return target commander you own from the battlefield to your hand. Activate this ability only during your turn. Now, this is definitely a must for this game, especially for Zacama, because with these 2 cards, with Sanctum of Eternity and Zacama, you can potentially get infinite mana. Now, if you're not into those combos, then you don't have to put it in, but it's in there for the ability also to bring the commander back to your hand if you don't want to bring him back to the command zone to pay those extra mana, because he's already a 9 converted mana cost. I'm not going to list all the lands in the deck because it's too much, but the link will be listed below in the description, so that way you can determine if you like those lands or if you want to transition to your own lands that you feel will make the deck run a lot quicker. There's 2 cards that I like to mention that don't really go with the deck. They're not dinosaurs or anything, but it's a nice little combo that's added to the deck that definitely helps benefit you. So we have Stuffy Doll. When it enters the battlefield, you get to choose a player. Stuffy Doll is indestructible. Whenever Stuffy Doll is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to the chosen player. Then you can tap it to do 1 damage to itself, which basically does 1 damage to that player. Then we have Farah, which is an enchant creature, and the enchanted creature, it gets redirected to enchanted creature all damage that is dealt to you. So if your opponents have a lot of big creatures and there's nothing that you can do and you don't have any blockers, you let that damage come through you, and because of Farah is attached to Stuffy Doll, that damage is going to get redirected to Stuffy Doll. Then that damage from Stuffy Doll is then going to get redirected to your opponent. So it's a nice little combo to have to help keep you safe when you're trying to build up your strategy for the deck. Like always, thank you for watching Tapcast Go. Please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment down below. Let us know how you thought about the deck or the changes that you would make with the deck. As always, once again, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more videos.